got to keep things cheap.
Yeah,
and
right.
that's what we're going to talk about, cheap. Really cheap, because there's a lot of things that we figured out you could do that if you've been watching our video channel, I'm sure a lot of you have, or all of you at least watch one or two. We do point out a lot of things that you can do on the sly, but then the last part of our show will be, yes, you're cutting off my head.
And that's a big head.
I could lower myself. But the last part, the second part of our show, is going to be about modifications for your games that are not physical or for you to see, but stuff to keep your games more stable.
Functional, not cosmetic.
Functional. Apparently, sometime between breakfast and about an hour ago, the thumb drive for today's show dropped out someplace in the hotel, and I've been looking all over for it. However, cleverly, I've always uploaded to YouTube the program, and Jillian is now downloading it. Is it almost done?
It is downloaded.
Good. So now there's something you should do. If you got it on a thumb drive, upload it to YouTube too, just for good measure. This is the first time I've had to use it, and I'm glad I uploaded it before I left. We only have 18 minutes of film. We have an hour slot, but we could go over a little bit. Is that right? Yes, because you all want to go out for dinner. Yes. Yeah, so officially we're till 5:30, but we can go longer, especially if you want to talk or anything about other things. There's lots to talk about. We're at probably the most exciting period of pinball history. New games are coming out right and left, great games, fun games. Your games are selling for record high prices, as you know, but of course it costs you a lot to buy them to replace the ones you sell. So I guess it all evens out, but there's some great deals in the vendor hall. A whole bunch of pretty good deals you could make. Remember, usually when you see a sticker price, you can always come down a little bit, unless it's brand new. That's when it's tough because of the listed price. But if we're ready, Jillian, okay, why don't you start we have to have opening credits, of course. We're back 6 months later. Unfortunately, our twins are still en route, so they're not here yet, but they're coming. But there's the title.
Yes, the twins had a slight pinball emergency.
Just a slight one. So they're going to join us soon, and we have plenty of topics, so they're part of the show. Of course, everybody helps out. This is Franklin Mutham toward me, closest to me, and we have John.
Hello, everyone.
He started out as Fanboy John. One of my competitors named him that. Furious. And it stuck.
Unfortunately, it stuck.
It did stick. Now, Steve didn't want to come up, but Bearded Steve is right there. Hold your hand up. He's the one that just sipped coffee and is ignoring me. There we go. I got a wave out of him. Steve is actually a big Gottlieb collector. He loves Gottliebs. He has hundreds of them. And he loves them very much. He keeps threatening to sell them. We all do. Don't we all threaten to sell our favorite games and then we keep them? That's what's been happening. Well, we're going to start with mods for your game. And if you've watched our videos, you've probably seen a bunch of these. Different mods come in different places. Frank, do you have your cheat sheet? You don't, do you?
Plate, no.
Okay.
Wait. Is it this one?
No, this one.
My plate.
Whose is this one?
Yours.
This is mine?
That's yours.
Lost everything, didn't we? See, well,
There were multiple
unfortunately,
pinball
everything we
emergencies.
typed was also on the stick. So that was the end of that. So we were trying to write down everything we could remember. That's the difficulty because I only uploaded the video to YouTube and not the rest of it. But we pretty much got everything. One of the more basic mods is the washer, the clear washer that protects your slingshots. Now, Stern continues to use metal ones, which, of course, we take off, and then we put the clear ones in when we sell the game if the customer wants us to open it up. But you can buy them from Pinball Resource. Marco sells them, Pinball Life.
Ice.
But the best place, believe it or not, is from the people that made it originally, which is the ice people, and they're only a quarter. However, they have a minimum order of, I think, $100. So I just got a big ice order, and I just ordered 600 more washers. But we like their washers because they're real thin, and it's impossible. I see someone shaking their head, yes. Impossible to break. And the Lexan washers, the slimmer they are, it's easier to put the lock nut down on the top. And we always put them on the slingshots and then a couple other key places where they break. So if you decide that you need parts for your super checks, remember to get them, throw in a bunch of those ice washers. At a 25 cents, they're half the price of Marco and everybody else. So it is a good deal. So that's one thing we always order in bulk, are the washers. Another thing we have on our list, possibly the most important thing you can buy are 555 lamp sockets with an angle on, a little silver angle on them. I have the parts numbers in a lot of my videos. We use the same part, we get them from Steve, but Marco sells them too. They cost about 89 cents if you buy 100 of them. I'm hunched over. And you buy this lamp socket, you buy a roll of heat shrink from Amazon, and then long strands of wire, which you can cut out of harnesses you're not using. And these lamp sockets can augment lights throughout your playfield. If you've watched our videos, you can see we've added them pretty much everywhere, including you can even light the buttons on the cabinet sides. So instead of buying those $30 clear buttons to light your cabinet, you get for $30 or $35, you get two. You can buy a brand new button for $2 or $1, and then you can buy the lamp socket for 60, 70, 80 cents, depending on how many you buy, and put an LED in it, and bang, you got the button lit for well under $6. We do that a lot. And the other nice thing about the button is the right button light will also light your shooter lane, which is a really nice feature. Now, we're going to run a video now, in a moment, of a slugfest. That is a pitch and bat. It's not a pinball machine, but because it's got the WPC boards in it, and it's in basically the same cabinet, we're gonna think of it as a pinball. But it's a steel ball. Okay, I would agree with that. The slugfests all were unlit at the bottom where the bat is, because they didn't think it was necessary, because the white lights on the back glass, or actually on the front of the playfield, you'll see in a moment, light the field. But by adding 4 color strips that you can buy, the only place so far I've found that sells them is Comet Pinball. And we buy in quantity. We always spend a couple thousand every order, but you can buy the strips for under $5. I think they're $4. The best strips they make are 10 LED, and they're not clear. They're frosted. I couldn't think of it. And they have about 7 or 8 different colors. All right, why don't you start the video, because I explain it better. And this piece was made. Oh, you know what? Before Jillian, can you go back on that? I meant to open with that. I forgot. This clip got away. A customer sent this to me. He took the head off his game. Wasn't it nice? And he says, I couldn't figure out what to do with these wires, so I had to cut them. So he was unaware of the Jones plugs. So what you all need to do, if you're going to buy a mechanical from some clodhopper or something, and he says, I'll bring the game to you, tell him to unplug it. Tell him never, ever cut a single wire in the game. He did not see that those were plugs. We see it, but the average homeowner does not know what a Jones plug is. And it's very difficult to explain. I remember I took a while on one man to explain how to unplug it. Now, this wasn't one that hit us, but this guy was very frustrated when he ended up picking up this game. And what do you do with these wires? Well, you match the colors and you heat shrink them together. Do not electric tape them, please. Make it look professional. Buy a roll of heat shrink. It's really cheap on Amazon, really cheap, big rolls. And you get free shipping. Buy all 3 sizes. One size you can use for your flipper cranks to replace on your old Bally games, because that rubber is usually cut or worn or missing. You can slide the bigger size on there. We stock 3 sizes, right, Frank?
Yeah, it's like 1/8 inch, 3/16, and maybe half.
Eighth inch. Get closer to the mic.
3/16 and like maybe 1/2 inch.
Okay. It's really good to have that, I think.
And please don't use a propane torch to set the whole machine on fire. You can use heat shrink with simply just
The side of the
thick
solder iron?
lighter.
Yeah. The side of a solder pencil is perfect.
That is correct.
And you can use a wooden match. We're big on. We keep wooden matchsticks. That's actually a great tip. Wooden matchsticks fill holes on your playfield where the posts are. I see some nodding heads.
Actually, I
They're-
have another
they're
fix
great.
for that if Jillian got all my pictures. We'll get to that later.
Oh.
It's a little later, but yeah.
Okay.
Another way, because the matchsticks comes to a point in time that they don't work anymore.
Well, not in our lifetime. I'm not worried about that.
You're not always awake, so let me handle the technical stuff. Thank you.
Okay.
You be the dancing clown. I'll make sure that stuff works.
Well, I think Frank meant you mean to augment it with Elmer's glue.
No,
Okay.
this was a completely different problem.
I've seen that. You jam one matchstick in, break it off, jam another one in, break it off, and that should do it. But if it doesn't, you put a drop of Elmer's glue in.
That's not what I had to do in this case.
We'll wait for your. We'll see what he
Yeah,
has
thank
in
you.
mind. So let's show the Slugfest clip now, Jillian. Thank you, and thank you, Jillian, for setting everything up. Isn't
Showing
she
your
wonderful?
age, Mr. Todd. What's matchstick?
test. Now, normally, the play field is lit just by a strip of light bulbs. You can see most of them are 555s. burned out. Frank.
We got this from a competitor who had it
It's like,
chopped.
you know, I guess you've all noticed when the bulb is first on. Now, there's an LED right in there. Stick that in so they can see the difference. Now, we're going to, of course, change all these, which is anything. Anybody can do that. But look at the difference, right? Well, we're all going to look at the difference, see?
Unless you gouge your eyes out between now and then.
That's a lot brighter, isn't it? Now, that's going to help.
Todd, me. He opened the door.
Okay. But what we're going to do is this. You notice this is blue. This is a green area, blue and green. There's nothing under there. Nothing under there. There's nothing under there, right, Frank?
Nothing you'd be interested in.
Again,
Anything that's under there.
listen, just
Same thing that's
because
under
we
there.
have pictures of you at the gym with one day on the treadmill, a single day.
Pictures do we have you on the treadmill?
Listen, young man.
How many?
While you're down
I
there,
have more pictures, but that's irrelevant.
okay, let me show you what we're going to do to this. Okay, now you can see there's absolutely nothing on the playfield here, on these two sides. And we do have a hole to fish the wires through, and we're going to drill another roll, another hole over here. Look here. Come in. Do you see the strips? So we have a green one here, a blue one here.
That's ice
They
blue.
go through this hole, and we have another little hole here, green and blue. And then underneath, Kurt, did you snap this down on purpose just to upset me?
You guys did.
The new guy is going to get fired. Here, now look here. Comes in right here. Michelle, come in close. See the connectors? These are the plugs that Comet Pinball's connectors are furnished with. But we added these wires. We added this.
See the heat shrink.
And the wires are now wire tied. See the black wire ties? And dressed with
Cable
the
ties.
cables. So everything looks almost factory. See how it loops around here, comes over here. The second set of wires are over here. Do you see that hole? We saw that earlier. Okay? And it all comes down to this connection. And we put in these connectors, they're marked 1 and 2. So if you had to lift the playfield out, the whole mess unplugs. Sometimes you got to do that to work on these things. This way you won't have to worry about it
Being
down the road.
hardwired.
It'll be easy to do. Obviously, you'll notice we put stickers on
Now
all
here's
of our boards.
another tip.
You should too, or come up with some system so you know all these header pins will reflowed. An easy, simple mod that costs you nothing but time.
But time.
And the same is true with the optics. You have to reheat the 2 little optics. Not a mod, but simple maintenance that makes it easy. Well, let's put it back together. Frank, we're ready.
There's no sound at this point, but there you can see the end results with the ice blue and the green. It looks great. Now, there's one option you can do. Good, you'll stop that. You'll notice that the home run plate was flashing. In a couple of games, we hooked those 2 sides to the flashing light. Because it's LEDs, it doesn't seem to be taxing the transistor. So when the home plate light was flashing, the panels were flashing. And it was actually pretty neat, because during gameplay, they're on, and sometimes they're off and such. And it was a nice interaction. And you can play around with the connections, too, if you didn't want to wire it into the GI.
Yeah, the LEDs only draw about a third
Get
of the
closer
power.
to the mic, Mike.
The LEDs only draw about a third of the power of the regular bulb, so you don't want to use too thin of a wire. There's really, really cheap thin wire. And I'll mention it now because a lot of people that make and sell mods use impossibly thin wire to work with. If you make mods, use a bit of a better wire. Like, don't go any smaller than an 18 gauge, because I have a hard time working with it. I know anybody else is going to have a hard time working with it.
What's perfect is an old video game harness.
Right.
We've cut
Like a
wires.
speaker wire, no thinner than a speaker wire.
Yeah, you don't want something too thin, especially the really crappy JAMA harness wires that are out there. I know when we do our conversions of video games we build, we buy something called a super JAMA harness from Twisted Quarter. We must have bought 200 from them. And they're great. They're $38, but you get a heavy gauge wire that Frank likes.
The wire colors make sense. They're a nice heavy-duty wire. I heavily modify them. I don't use them the way they come. I take a lot of wires out and move stuff around to suit the way I do it. But yeah, don't buy the $20 Chinese wiring harnesses where both player 1 and player 2 controls are the same colors. You may not think of it at the time, you don't care, but when you have to work on it later, it's going to be a pain in the ass. So
Yeah.
an extra $20, just get a good harness.
And you can use the wires you're not using from
other
the,
stuff, which
the
is what I
harness
do.
to run the wires to the other things.
I'd like to add, if you're in a pinch and you didn't plan ahead or have enough wire, often you can run to your local auto parts store and you might be able to buy a spool wire 50 feet, 100 feet. That's a good alternative if you need that wire right now if you're in the middle of your project.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good point. I like that. Next thing I wanted to cover, are there any people in the audience that have a Zachariah or Zacharia game? We have one? Just one? What game do you have? Farfalla. Well, that's great because that's the video. They imported the most Farfallas. That was the #1 game that came over to America, and Devil Riders was #2. A stunning, beautiful piece of equipment. It's gorgeous, especially ours. And we went through it. But there is a problem, there's 2 major problems with Zachariah. #1 is the logic board. And a wonderful company, only one company in the world, makes brand new ones, and they're beautiful. And I can't for the life of me think of it because I wasn't going to talk about the new logic board, but do not discard a Zachariah or Zacharia if your logic board is soaked with battery damage. Do not throw it away. You'll need the processor to move over to the new board, and then your game will be back, and it'll be beautiful. But there's one other problem with Zaccaria pinball machines, and you have to know what it is. Relay. The flipper relays. Okay, you know what? That's number 3. That's number 3. So what's number 2? You may not have had a problem. We did with this one. No. It's the neon tube. Yes. Well, you were lucky. See, the neon is very dependable, and I should write to these creeps because after 40 lousy years, you'd think that tube would still work, you know? But our tube was dying. And it wasn't the transformer that was still putting out voltage, because I knew that because I had to shock Frank awake with it once. I zapped him with it.
It's pinballsolutions.eu.
Oh,
They
you looked
do have
it
that
up.
processor chip, but it's $40. It's an oddball. No other game uses it. So
Yeah, and we found that the power supply that you had the problem with the relays, you have to change all the capacitors on that. They're dried out after 40 lousy years. But after you finish that, and you have a neon tube, and you discovered that all the neon tube places in town closed because of LEDs, that on eBay, they sell neon tubing. Very cheap. And it's flexible and in a roll, and it's as easy as can be, and this is what we did with it. Go ahead, Jillian, please.
go ahead. Oh, I didn't know if I was in this film or not. So you're the star.
Yes, I am. Of course I'm the star. Franklin!
That's why you're only in your own videos.
Brad, come over here before I attack you with this wonderful mod. Do you know what this is? This is neon LED rope light. You can see it's very flexible. You can buy it right on Greed Bay in a roll, different sizes. And it's ideal if you have neon that turns out not to be good. We had a glass tube in here, a neon tube, but it was almost out. It was very dim, and it wasn't the transformer. The tube was losing gas. So,
Oh God, you're losing gas, jeez.
so we've replaced it. It almost looks identical. There's different colors. We thought yellow was the perfect match since the game is yellow. Isn't that clever, Frank? Lift Mr. Glass out, and we'll show people what this stuff is. The neon only glows on this end. So the directions said you could stick this or mount this in different ways. Now this isn't stuck anywhere. Kurt actually got these little clips. See these little cable clamps? Using the existing screws that hold the translight on. And this was threaded through here and then ends there. Frank, if you open the door, I'll show you how it ends. It ends here, and you can cut it off at the segments. It doesn't. You can actually see the segments when you look carefully. Now, notice on that end, if you get close, that is the cable that goes down into a 12-volt power supply. Now, it does not come with it when you buy this roll, so you can add a 12-volt power supply. We had a 2-amp, but it didn't seem to be. It was getting very hot.
Very hot.
So we decided
That
to
was
do
the little
something
pack
different.
that you charge your phone with, something like that.
We instead
No good.
installed a 4-amp commercial grade screw terminal power supply, so it would run cool. That's it there, and with a green light. Plugs into a service outlet, and then that is carefully wired in to the 110 going in. Do you like that, Frank?
No.
I thought it was pretty great.
You don't need that.
Amateur.
You don't need that. You need to plug it in.
Well, because we can unplug the power supply when we need to. Well, you might have to, you never know. Well, plus now they'll have a socket to plug their stupid soldering iron in.
See, a socket
Okay?
for the
Because they don't
soldering iron.
have one. Well, they have to have the game on, yeah, that's right.
You're supposed to work on the
Doesn't like
Frank, put your fingers right here for just a moment. You see, it's my own show when I get abused.
constant abuse. Did somebody just reach out, Todd? We had a party going on up front. It's a great update for Neon, isn't it, Frank? So if you have a Zachariah, you can do a very inexpensive update. Shall we return? Yes, we will. So there you go. Now, flexible neon, right on eBay. You'll find a roll. They sell it in all different lengths. I think that was a big roll, and I think it was only $20, $25. But you had to add the power supply.
Did it come with the plug end on it, or did you?
No, no ends. No, we had to stuff the ends in.
Did it
Remember?
come with a receptacle? Did they go to Home
It
Depot
comes
and
with
buy
the Home
receptacle and a junction box?
You're just jealous of my. See, the Farfella, remember, doesn't have any outlet on it. They have one of those goofy overseas outlets. That's no good, right? Right. So you have to. It's nice to have a soldering iron under there, so you can solder.
So does it work when the game is turned off?
Who cares?
Well, when somebody blows their Zachariah up because you gave them bad advice, it's being recorded.
See, I told you, constant abuse. Constant.
Thank you.
Constant.
How
I
long was
do
that-
it all
how
the
long did
time.
that game
Power
sit-
on.
How long did that game sit blown up because somebody should have been
None.
touching it? Worked 7 months, 8 months,
What difference does it
10
make?
months? It made a lot of difference when you were crying because you couldn't sell it. You couldn't get your
I'll sell
money.
it to you. See, we'll do that with all the new games. Always work on your Jersey Jacks with the power on, right? No, of course not. You turn them off, Frank.
And your soldering iron's not going to work.
No, what you do is you plug the soldering iron in, get it nice and hot. Then when you're ready to solder, turn the game off. The soldering iron will stay hot.
Just run an extension cord over too.
See? Always abuse. I'm trying to cover. I spent money on that socket. We could have just wired it right into the thing. We could have, but we didn't. I put a socket on it. I had the idiot do it. Anyway. Okay. So the flexible tubing is a nice feature. I could see commercial pinball manufacturers use it too. It's cheap. And it looks great. It's super bright. We had a lot left over too. So when you make your own connectors, you can use it on different things. I presume you could also light plastics on the playfield. The 12 volts is going to be the problem. That's it. You can't depend on the 12 volts off the WPC. Because a lot of you, if you put those mods on, you're taxing your 12 volt department in the WPC board. The more you add, the more possibilities of disaster. Right?
I guess, did you record when we did Jeff's Adams Family where we added those plasma pop bumpers and remember all the hell I had to go through to wire up
Yes.
the power supply and all the shit I had to do to make that stupid thing
Yes. We had to add 12 volts.
work? What video was that? Do you remember? No, I had to do a lot more than just 12 volts.
Yeah, somebody sent us like 1 billion mods and for an Adams Family, and the board was not happy. It was just furious with us.
Did anybody
So
ever
we had
use
to
those
add
plasma
power
pop
supplies.
bumper caps? Do you know what I'm talking
Plasma
about?
pop
Has like a
bumpers.
lightning
Somebody
bolt
was
that goes
selling
in the
them, I
center.
guess, a
Sometimes
couple
it'll
years
work
ago.
off sound. Sometimes it'll just be on all the time. But they give you this little relay board, so they want you to plug a power supply into the service
Get
outlet,
closer
which
to
you
the
never-
mic.
Which you never do. And then it comes with some little relay board, and you're supposed to tap it into the GI. Well, Adams Family doesn't use all 5 legs. But no matter what I did, it kept blowing the fuse. 'cause
I
it's
thought
got
it was
5 of them.
Genesis.
No, it was.
There were
Jeff
4
Adams-
Genesis with those bumpers.
No, it was Jeff's Adams Family.
Okay.
He bought all 5 of those. Remember, because they
There
kept
were
failing.
2
they
different
kept failing.
plasmas then. We had
They were
Genesis
failing.
too. Yeah.
Brand new.
Yeah, we were having
And-
trouble with them. Yes.
No. I had to mount a computer power supply in the bottom, and then I had to make this,
We're arguing over our
framework to mount all these little relay boards to turn them off and on. It was maybe about 3-4 years, maybe 5 years ago. If you look up the video, just look up the TNT Adams Family videos, and you'll see it. Unless you lost that.
Well,
footage.
we've sworn off those mods. I'll let them put them in, blow them up. We just spent too much
don't
time
waste
on
your
them.
money on them. They've died
Simple
right out of
mods,
the
I
box.
think, are the best. Speaking of the Adams Family, that 555 light, you can light your swamp. You can light the chair, the scoop. Any scoop in your game you can light.
you're going to see a Gold Wings video, not yet, where we lit the scoop, a new light that was never there with that $3 lamp socket wires, and that's it, just a light. And it just changes the whole look of the game, and it doesn't cost you much. So we covered that. There's other great mods you already know about. The color DMD is the best thing, the best mod you can ever add to a WPC game. But of course, as you all know, he's out of stock. And we don't know how long he's going to be out of stock. But that's a great mod. I understand there's some overseas manufacturers now that are making them. So, but the color DMDs, I've only had one failure out of, I must have put 300 or 400 of them in now, maybe more. We buy them like in 10 at a time, so we can keep adding them wherever possible. The nice thing about the color DMD is after you put it in, you can sell your old DMD because you're never going to use it again. So just dump it. That's why we always have them. We sell them for $75, 75 to 85, depending on whether they look like new. And we sell every one we get in once we convert them. There's a few other things we can hit. I want to keep track. Good, we're okay on time. We got in a game that nobody wanted, and now everybody does, is Gilligan's Island. And I always thought it was great. I really did. I thought it was great when it first came out. You obviously know it's the first dot matrix game to be released, even though Terminator was finished before Gilligan, but it wasn't released. Kona in the back, if you're not familiar with it, is a mountain. There's two eyes, hollow eyes in it. And behind Kona, there's a flash lamp. So when the flash lamp goes off, the eyes flash. But we came up with another idea in this next video that you can do with those same 555 sockets and something we call a bendy, which is a light you can, yes, that's right, one you can adjust and turn and move and point in the right hole, so you don't have to be so precise. Here's the video. Okay, Gilligan's. Originally the mountain had no lighting other than the flash lamp and the GI under it. But look what we came up with. Actually, little Chris did. Pop riveted 2 of those sockets, added 2 bendies, and put them right at the eyeballs. Oh, he's winking. He's winking at us. You better fix that for good. See, now look, isn't that neat? Kona? Now the result, when you see it, it does look like eyes. We also, the camera can't capture it. Took one of the bulbs out and added a strip to make this brighter so you can see the minnow a little better. I think that looks good. And of course there's the usual strips. We have one under here to brighten this back. We started putting strips underneath the second plastic. The middle plastic. Right, okay, you can so kind of see it poked under the middle. This piece here. So you can really brighten the game up this way. There are our eyes. Now, when you see it, you can actually, it looks like they're pupils because of the construction of the bendy bulb. It's very nice, very effective. And customer, of course, will be thrilled. And if it's your game, you'll be thrilled. And once again, almost no cost. If you have a firepower, probably a lot of you have had at least one over the years, there's a really simple mod. With that same lamp socket, once again, you light the 3 holes, but you hook the wires up to the green lock hole. So when the lock is flashing, the hole is flashing. It looks terrific. And once again, dirt cheap, and what a great effect, because you see the arrow and the hole blinking merrily away. And of course, Firepower is one of the greatest games ever made, top 10 game ever made. And it's a really nice upgrade. That wonderful 555 socket and the strips. So we always order like 200 at a time from Steve at Pinball Resource, but Marco carries them too. He was out of them for a while. Steve supplies most of the other pinball manufacturers. So it's rather interesting because they all work together to get parts to all of you. And we need the parts. We are up to another part. You know what? We'll do the gold wings. I never liked this game, but everybody wants it now because of Top Gun. But we sold three. As a matter of fact, the last one was just picked up. One was an overhaul. Steve Zamonski from Jersey Jack loves gold wings, and we did his up. And this is his, actually. Go ahead. There better be seats for my Jack.
This is the end result of one of our machines now.
That's the one. That's the second one we had go out.
Here. Let's look and
Do you see
what
how
it
the
looks
ramp
like
is?
on the second machine.
How this curly Q is lit.
No
This
light,
is Steve's.
So as you can see, the factory has no lighting at all.
Underneath me.
Give him a good seat.
It's something like that, yeah. Something like that. Yeah, I think it goes like that. So none of this is lit.
None. There are no
And
lights at
that's
all.
in front of the curly cube, which is going to be here.
So I'm gonna light up the plastic with a strip here. It'll light the plastic up, and then bounce color changer off the ramp.
We had to drill a hole.
Good.
And then I added these. These were no lights.
None of the
either,
corners were lit.
but no lights back there at all.
So that game's screaming for extra lights. If you didn't want to use the strips, you could drill holes and put standard 44 LEDs in too. We did that on the earlier ones, but the strips are so easy to work with, and they're brighter. You get 10 LED lights. So the scoops, anything metal, you can light and change colors with. It looks great, and a lot of the manufacturers now are doing that. That's what creates such a beautiful color palette on your play field. Wouldn't you agree, Frank?
Absolutely.
Frank doesn't like gold wings either, especially when the siren goes off. Well, by the way, if you have a siren and it's too loud, wrap it with a towel, an old towel your wife won't miss. Just wrap it up. You'll hear the siren, but it'll be quite muffled. And it's perfectly safe since you're not having it anywhere near any of the electrical parts, if you want to keep the effect. If you've all had gold wings, I'm sure you've opened them up and found the fuse is missing. They just take that little black fuse out and throw it away. That's the end of the siren. But some people want to keep that effect in there. But especially after they get home from the movies after seeing Top Gun. What a great movie that was. That was a great movie. So, and maybe explains why gold wings. Somebody asked how much. The gold wings were $3,500. So that's what we were selling them for. That's with a new ramp from Ramp-O-Matic. Jody makes these wonderful ramps. They're thicker. He makes them in different colors. So we saw one was blue. Steve wanted a clear one. We gave him a clear one, but they also make pink. They all look great. So any colors, I think they're $75 plus shipping. So that's the gold wings. There's another real cheap ramp. Oh, okay. It's going slower than I thought. Okay. There's another cheap mod. Steve at Pinball Resource sells these things. They're stars. You've seen them on a lot of Gottlieb games. Gottlieb used tons of them. But then again, Williams used a whole bunch of them in laser ball, and Stellar Wars didn't have any. The one they only made 100 of. Oh my God, right out of my head. Starlight. There's only 100, but you knock out the red one. They're always red. And they have the little white star in the center, and they look like shit. And they're filthy dirty, and they don't work well. So this is what we did. Can you run this clip, please?
Well, we're going to show you what you can put in your game. It'll cost you a big fat $4. Now, Kurt, come down here. This is that's the rollover. That's what your rollover looks like. It's red, and it has the little weight thing in there.
And the weight thing, we had this loose so you could see. When your game is filthy, look at it, cruddy.
They all
You
are.
could take it out and clean it, A.
Stupid.
Or B, you could buy a brand new one. Each piece is $2.
They're
You get
sold
a clear
separately,
one,
believe it
though.
or not.
With a new white center. See how easy it moves? It's not cruddy like this, okay? And then we lit it with a Comet Fire.
That's
So
a
your
red
total
fire.
cost, unless you get discounts, is $4, and the fire is for $8. Produces. Look at this effect here.
And you can put any
Isn't that
color.
nice?
Color changers will go in
I
too.
saw that'd be fist fighting whoever was getting in my way to play this game.
No,
I'd be putting quarters so fast the coin would catch fire.
you
So
know the other
mean.
option is to put a fast-changing color LED. That's another.
That's the
option.
only other option. That's it.
Well, no, you can put a red.
Nope.
You can
that's
put a
the
solid bulb in if you wanted to be stupid.
Good. But not as everybody's as smart as you. So.
Is that what you did? You put a solid one in there. Stupid.
I did to show you how ugly it used to look.
What about this? What's this one?
You don't like my rubber?
Ew.
That.
Wish your dad liked rubbers.
So that is a Titan mini rubber. Right. Well, at least you got me
time to use that.
At least you got me a chance to say my Frank. Everybody likes it when I go Frank.
Nobody likes it.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to these two idiots.
That's us, Frank. That's us, you know.
It is. They're idiots.
Well, we are now up to other things you can do with your game. Custom translates, you've seen them, especially the Gottlieb ones that are really nice. They make them for Raven and Genesis, but now they make them for all the other games too. So you can get a new one for Funhouse. You can get one.
Shadow.
Shadow
Monte
makes.
Carlo.
Yeah, the original Shadow was okay, but the new one's much nicer. Frank, did you have any translates you liked?
Well, people put the one in the Genesis. I like the original one better. That creepy.
God,
It's supposed
that's
to be creepy,
awful.
not that stupid metropolitan robot thing. I don't know what that's supposed to be about.
Well, oddly enough, the woman in the original Genesis is a fan of TNT. She watches our videos, and she says, "That's me on the backlash," you know. And I said, "Yeah, you're in the original ones if they're not changed yet." But it was rather
You should have her
interesting.
come in and do a video. On the next
We should.
Genesis.
If she still has that hair, so we have to get her with the hair. Jillian, you could loan her your hair. See, that would do it. Anyway, we're up to powder coating. There's got to be powder coating places near you. The powder coating people used to just do engine parts and motorcycle parts, but now they're doing pinball legs. Every game we sell, even the as-is ones, we powder coat the legs. They do every color you can think of, and you're not sitting there scrubbing the crap off the old legs, scraping the rust off. You don't do anything. You just take the caster out of the bottom, the leg leveler. Obviously, this is a good time to make sure the threads are still good, because you don't want to powder coat a leg that has bad threads. Unless you just want to put a lock washer in and screw the caster all the way down and use it in the front, so you don't have to waste the leg. But, you know, there's 3 sizes, 27, 20 and a half, and 31. So you got to make sure you have enough. We always, we do just hundreds and hundreds of legs now. And your patio furniture, right? I just took mine over. So
Side rails and back boxes.
side rails,
If you
back
want
boxes,
lockdown
hinges.
bar.
We took over a Dirty Harry gun to have that powder coated, obviously gun metal. So we're going to do that the right color.
It's a great way to make your older game look more modern, spice it up a bit. Another advantage is maybe you have a pitted or rusted chrome piece that you can't get aftermarket to look new again. That's another great reason for the powder coating. If it's not an option to replace, get it powder coated, and you'd be surprised the difference, make it look much more modern. And another option if that part's no longer available.
That's right. And buying a new leg isn't the answer because the new legs are not powder coated. So take your
Tend to
old
be
leg.
thinner and weaker too. So
Depending on we do quantity, but powder coated legs cost us $10 to $12 each. And if there's a special color, they're 15 each. So for $10, or $12, your guy's not bent over the sink, scrubbing the old one with Brillo pads and trying to shine it up, and then you can never. The inside of the leg always looks like shit, no matter what you do. So you don't have to paint it, and it looks great, and the customer's happy. For us, and you'll be happy if it's you. We are now going to move into important repairs, upgrades, which are not necessarily related to the appearance. Now, John is going to share with you Frank's battery board mod that Frank, as you all know, if you've watched our videos, developed a wonderful little board that fits into every single game made right now, right? We cover them all?
Pretty much in a couple of videos, too. The Bally one, or the 6803 one will fit the off-road.
And also
Farfalla.
Farfalla.
Yeah,
Zachariah.
Farfalla. Game plan.
Now, Frank has a website you can buy direct, which is, go ahead.
It's noquartersarcade.com. I also have a Facebook page with the same name. And occasionally I'll put tech articles up or just little tips, so little things I find that are a problem over the years that can usually...
Some are funny, too.
Yeah, well, like...
Horrible repairs.
The, Zeke's Peak, where they wrap the fuse in foil.
Well, you've all come across foil
Some of you
fuses.
might see.
Everybody has.
Don't ever do
I'll
that.
fix this for good. It'll never blow again.
Yeah, when you're doing a mod, don't forget about the hidden things you can do. It doesn't have to be an added toy or light on your playfield. You can do a mod that's going to better improve the life duration of your game. And Frank's battery board is a great example. I've put some on my games already, and I'm in the process of eventually putting them on everything I have.
And your wife, she put the first one on herself.
Yes, on Frank's page, No Quarters Arcade. Did a video of my wife, Crystal, how easy it is to install a battery board. We used my Funhouse as an example. By doing that, we're preventing any future issues of the AA batteries leaking acid and doing damage to our boards. Just by putting the battery board in, they're very affordable, and putting that coin cell in, those never seem to leak.
Yeah, and only $14. Possessive rate. And they're great upgrades, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yes, and it looks clean and neat. It has a blocking diode. Every battery board has a blocking diode to protect your game. So,
Except the Gottlieb System 3, which doesn't need it.
well, yeah, because they didn't need a blocking
It
diode.
fed right to a Dallas, what was
Right.
it, 1230.
He even makes the little one for the System 3, that little tiny thing. So that fits right in.
And please don't forget about another mod that you're not seeing or might not make your game more exciting. Check your power cords. Make sure there's no splices in them. You don't want to wrap electrical tape around it. Maybe your ground prong is missing.
Yeah, ground
you can
prongs
replace
are
your
needed.
cord. It's very affordable, and you're going to protect your game for a long time.
That actually,
And prevent
John,
your
that,
house
that,
from burning down.
Yeah, or
That was a
getting
great
shocked
idea.
as well.
the best power cords made anywhere is in fact Steve Young. And I remember he had ran out and he finally got them stocked again. They're 14 foot long. They're flat, like the original Bally cords. They're beautiful cords. I buy hundreds of them. And you put a new cord on the game. Our stipulation is if the cord, the original cord, has any kind of ding in it, or the ground is broken off, it gets a new cord. Make sure you hook the new wires up. Those 3 wires are hooked up in the correct order. The banded side, the side with the ribs on the flat cord, is your neutral. So you have to make sure you hook it up right, or the game will still give that. Have you ever touched your games and you have that magnetic or the electrical feel? It feels like there's electricity passing through it.
Yeah,
so you have to
side
hook
rails.
the side rail touch. Yes. So you do want to make sure you can. If you're unclear, look at the ribbing, and look at the slots. Every socket in America has 3 slots, unless the house is 70 years old or something. But the long one, the long slot, is neutral. The long slot is neutral. The short slot is your hot. That's your black wire. And then, of course, the ground is the green wire. oddly enough, in your fuse box or your circuit panel in the basement, the white wire and the green wire are connected together in the fuse panel. So it's like, well, I got an extra one. There's no need to run it because they both go to the same place.
Well, what the reason is that it's an extra path back to ground.
Right, to keep, so
If it
the
doesn't go
extra
to ground,
path
it's gonna
isn't through
go
your body.
you. It's actually just a quick story. So you would want to make sure that your ground is there. So a guy that I know had a lady friend over. They were engaged in some adult consensual activity between pinball machines that were turned on. And they were getting heightened sensations at the point of contact. And then he said, how much power, so should I get any voltage to my side rails? I said, no. He said, I'm getting about 60 volts. I'm like, check your grounds. Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you've ever worked on multiple machines and you stood between them and lean across them when they're powered up, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you'll know.
Lean your arm across them and one of them doesn't ground it properly, you're going to get shocked.
Yes, it's usually 60 volts.
I brought it up because it happened to me on one of my games.
Yes. Every one of
and
you must have
Crystal
been
were
shocked at least
engaged
once.
in consensual adult activity between the machines.
No.
Make sure you wipe them down next time I come over when I work on them.
Good idea. Good idea.
You just want to make another video.
Well, we just came across this on a Super Mario Brothers Gottlieb pin. If you have a System 3 and there's a hum, and you've changed the amp, you put another board in, you change the soundboard, and you change the fuses on the transfer on the bottom, and you can't get rid of the hum, you are now going to discover why. Can you run this video, Jillian, please? This is every System 3. Sound hum. Have you experienced it? Here, come close. Listen. You can hear the hum. The volume's all the way up, but there's a background hum you can't turn off. It's always there. People said they changed the soundboard, they changed the amplifier. No help. Oh, the transformer's bad. It's actually not. Let me show you something. On all System 3s, the auxiliary power supply, two fuses, 10 and 11. The fuses are absolutely good. They're even new. But guess what? This one is not working right. Listen. Hum is gone. Hum is gone. Now watch. If I take the fuse out completely, listen. See, there's a lot of hum. So the brand new fuse, the hum goes down, but it don't go away. Dude, what?
Kurt?
Right in the middle.
I did.
We're doing a seminar, Kurt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Now, how to fix it? We're going to show you. First of all, you don't have to change the whole fuse block. Completely idiotic and unnecessary. You need to just change these two. Gottlieb put enough little holes in there where you can, we're going to show you,
In the
take
metal
these fuses
casing.
out here, then you get in there and break these two away, put a new fuse block on with a screw. Solder it in, your problem is gone, and you don't have to sit there and change the whole fuse block. Unless you have a lot of time and you're really... I didn't say it right, did I?
Because you know the balls.
There's a lot of secret stuff on this game.
Okay, Kurt has separated the fuses and he's put a screw back in, so this holder is in tight. And now the next step is to change those two holders. And, Kurtie, voila. The hum is gone.
I hear nothing. It's gone. It's gone.
Kurt, lower the playfield. I just want to show.
Anything?
That's one way to put the lights in, to light the buttons. And this one here,
See that one, the way that's
we didn't see
placed,
anything, Kurt.
it'll light the
And then
shooter
you
lane.
can see, this
And that was an
Mario just
invention
not lit
of
well.
Timmy.
There's a
one of our
series of strips under
Great for the
here.
games with the skill
You see how the
shots.
strips are above
A lot
the
better.
lower plastic, but underneath the top
These
plastic.
here we change. We put
So you get a
LEDs up
nice
there, of
effect.
course. That's a good.
And they're out of view when you're playing the game.
Yes. And this is a close-up of the sticker.
Stern
for the
copied
alcohol.
that from us. Did you notice? Starting with Black Knight 3000, they light all the
Curve.
flippers. So we've been doing lighting the flipper area for, God, how many, 5 years now?
Also, too, if you do find a blown fuse, it's rare. I've found it so many times that I chased it forever because the fuse never looks blown until you really look at it. But if you have a blown fuse and you put another fuse that blows again, you have a bad diode on that amplifier board. Just check your diodes. One of them's going to be bad. So this is a quick tip to fix
You don't
that.
put a bigger fuse in.
No
You
foil.
could.
No
No
nails.
foil.
Or gum wrapper.
Gum wrapper. Yeah, they work quick if you're out of fuses, I guess. That's true. Like the hum. Can you hear the hum now? I can hear it. Let's see. We are up to. We got Tommy's. They didn't come. I guess they couldn't make it. But bridge rectifiers. Everybody knows the story with them. They're failing. Bridge rectifiers. That's the way they are. Especially on the Williams WPCs. All you knew that. So we always put 2 new ones in. We don't change all 5 because the others are under 0 strain. It's the 2 main fuses, the 5-volt fuses that run the 5-volt circuit. Try to buy bridge rectifiers that are tall because the higher up off the board, the more heat dissipation there is. And then you have to buy the, Frank, it went right out of my head, the
Thermal
white gunk.
compound.
The what?
Thermal compound.
Thermal compound, yeah, right out of my head. I just found out something. One of our most purchased product for us is something called, it's contact cleaner. And I just found out from Mike at Automated, he actually went in his office the other day. We went before we came up here, and sitting on his desk was a can of contact cleaner. I keep it here because it's $13. And I said, what? They're $5 or $6. Same can. He said, what? What do you mean they're 5 or 6? A company in Florida called AVM Incorporated. You can buy them like dirt cheap. You can buy a contact cleaner. You get 3 cases at a time, and it comes down to below $6 a can. There's 12 cans in the case. They also have air duster. You blow air away. Half the price of everybody else. So look them up, AVM Incorporated. And they'll sell direct to you, do a credit card over the phone, and the thing's on its way 2 days later. You get a case of them. A great product. We spray it everywhere, don't we, Frank?
It's actually really good for removing adhesive because it won't hurt plastic.
Yes, that is
So, like
true.
the guys will use goof off, and I don't like any of that because it takes the paint off. If you're trying to get a sticker or something off the bow tie, you have to be careful because it will if you're too aggressive with it. But if you just spray it on, let it work, wipe it off a little bit at a time,
Yes.
you're gonna save
It
you a lot of
does.
headaches.
It dissipates. That means it disappears. It doesn't leave a film. So it's called contact cleaner, cleverly.
And if you're going to clean anything on your mechanical pinballs, leave the game open and walk away for about a half hour before you turn it on, or else you're going to get a ball of fire.
Have a fire
Ask me how I
extinguisher
know.
handy. Yes, have a fire extinguisher. Yes, certainly don't start it up when that motor starts to spin and all the contacts are going. You're going to have foof. See, a good foof. That is. Mechanical games are great. I mean, they shouldn't be working. They were, mechanical machines were made for 5 years of use. 5 years, and then you were supposed to throw them away.
Just one other thing, you can use it for cleaning the flux off of your boards when you're soldering.
Yes.
Keep your work nice and clean.
You know what we should bring up? The washing of the boards. Simple green. Okay? Not in the spray. Get the...
I keep it
Gallon?
in a little jar.
Yes, but
next
it's
to
the
sink,
pure
and I use
stuff.
straight. I
Right.
just put it on a paintbrush, especially like shuffle alley boards that are always going to be heavily coated with nicotine.
Oh,
I
God,
just-
yeah, the black nicotine. The boards will come up like new. You don't even scrub them. You take a big floppy paintbrush and paint the board with it, backside and front. Just paint the whole board. You're not going to hurt it. Well, believe me, you're not. And then you get a big fan,
Like a
box fan.
Yeah, like a 24-inch.
Yeah.
You just you lean it up against the box fan for about an hour, hour and a half, or even overnight.
It's dry as a bone. Board looks beautiful.
Todd, don't you also use non-abrasive with no pumice added Gojo hand cleaner.
Gojo for the play fields. We picked that up from John Sheehan. He worked with us until he was, gosh, how old? 89. He retired at 89. Our requirement is 100 for him to collect the pension. So. But he decided he was done at 89, but he brought to us his techniques in fixing shuffle alleys. We've sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shuffle alleys, but Gojo, the stuff you clean your hands with if you're a mechanic, is the most marvelous cleaner for playfields. And he was using it for years and years, and we've been using it now for almost 30 years. And you have to buy the original formula, that's it, not the one with the pumice. Otherwise, the
it's
paint
usually
will come
white
off your
with
playfield.
blue or purple print. If it's orange, don't buy it because that's going to have pumice in it.
Yes, it just says original formula on the can.
Unless you
They
wanna
sell it
turn
in
your
big
game into a
cans.
white
I think
one.
you can buy little cans, but we always go there and get the big cans. And we get our Napa also sells the Bondo that we like. It's not called Bondo. It's microfiber Bondo to fix your cabinet. You sand it, you make the cabinet look like new. Your pinball machines, you know, there's always a chunk of wood out of it, or several places. You can fix it with a Bondo, sand it, and then repaint it.
Often a corner of a head, someone's moving it up or down their basement stairs or through doorways.
Yes.
You always get the game moved and you're like, oh, what's this little colored piece of wood? Darn it.
Yeah, the Napa up the street from us says we bought gallons and gallons and gallons. What do you do with this? And I said, we tell them we fix the cabinets with this stuff. And high gloss black, we use a lot of that from our Ace Hardware. They sell gallons of it. It's $45. It's made by Clark and Essington. It's the best paint there is. Next best paint, Home Depot sells high gloss black. Same color as the Addams Family or something you can paint. That's what we've been doing for years now. I didn't even have that listed. Let's see, we have, let me see, battery holders, capacitors. I think we covered everything, and I think we covered all of our clips except our closing clip. And we are at 5:37, and I know you're all hungry for dinner. I don't know if there is any. Can you guys think of anything else that we could cover? Do you have any questions? Anybody have any ideas? You can stand by the microphone there. They can be fun. They can be personal. They're all asleep.
Maybe you have a mod or an affordable mod
Yes.
you'd like to share with everyone.
Yes, there is a great mod. This was in my book. I found these pictures. That idiot ruined my book. These pictures were supposed to be this clear, and I stumbled across it. This is the corner of a Williams driver board used from 77 to 83. If you have a Williams game between 77 and 80, it looks like this. Do you see those 8 resistors? Well, there's some of the Black Knights had a little message stapled in them that says if you replace that was the first game to use the update. I don't know if you're aware of it, the updated transistor. I think that's a video too. If you hit the start, I think I cleverly made it blink with my 2002 video program. But this is what we did. It'll start in a moment. Here we are. And then you can freeze it now, Jillian. Now, this board that I happened to take the picture of were not what we were using. A staple from your office stapler fits the holes perfect. You suck it out, you put the staples in, throw the resistors out. Your switches will become more sensitive. If you have a Black Knight or anything after that, the switches may not read correctly because of the faster pace of the game, because of the stronger coil. Now, you don't have to do this, but we do it to every game, regardless of what year the game was made. We make sure that it has the jumpers in it. So if you move this driver board to another game, you can get away. It's just a great zero cost mod, just your time. Now, this header pins on the right. Do you notice the header pins on the right are round?
Molex made the darn things round. I even see one of the pins is pushed down. I'm not sure if that's the... Okay. You have to go through these and make sure all the pins are level and reheat it. The connector, the weight connector in a Williams game, is flat. So when the connector's plugged in, it's touching a portion of the round pin. Just a portion. Now, Molex's solution was to make a square pin. So if you look at a newer game, the pins are square, not round. And Marco sells a triuricon, I think I said that right. Trifurcon, right. A pin that grips it on 3 sides. It makes a solid, great connector. So if you're going to change you don't have to. We will not change these pins, baby. We're done with that. That's going out that way. But if you have a problem, especially if you have an old Williams video game like Joust, you should change just the power connector to the square Molex pins and change the connector to the 3-level pin that you can buy for a couple cents. They're real cheap, like 6 cents, 7 cents each. We buy hundreds of them too. But that's a great mod, and that jumper is perfect for your game. Now we could do questions. That's the last thing I did. We have a question. Aha.
I have a question. My name is Christian. I'm a photographer, so I had to state that in order to be ethical. Do you have any tips for clamping down System 3 Gottlieb flippers? They have 2 hex nuts, which are just like you screw one in and you screw the other in, and it starts to shift in the bushing, and it just kills me. And I've done it.
Okay.
I spent 100 hours on this thing.
On the flipper.
On the System
3?
Yeah.
Well, you have to change the plunger and link. The plunger and
Yeah,
link on all System 3s are bad.
Yeah.
Now, are you talking about the pawl, the P-A-W-L?
Not the pawl. What's the metal thing that goes down into the bushing through the playfield that the flipper's attached to?
The shaft.
Now, the shaft has a recessed area where
Right.
those 2 bolts clamp, but those 2 bolts, they push and pull and push and pull, and so I can never get it even. I can never get it right. Then I'll play a game and it'll fail. And
Okay.
you clamp one side. I mean, what's the
Well,
trick?
here's what we do. When we get the shaft, we pull the shaft out. We always put a new boot on the top. Steve makes the boots, the white boot. But if the shaft is burred, you really should put a new one in. But you can sand it off, with sandpaper. You can get it,
Yeah.
or use the wire wheel.
I actually started with new shafts from Steve Young, so they're virgins. But I just can't quite get that. I'm tightening it like you do wheel nuts, where you do 1 turn and then 1 turn, or quarter turn and quarter turn. And
We hand
missing
tight them,
yeah,
and then we take the Allen screw and tighten one.
yeah.
And then sometimes you have to move the flipper to tighten the other, but you make sure it's lined up, and you make sure there's up and down movement
Okay.
before you do it. But I've never had a problem. Once or twice we've had a pawl, and the screws kept loosening up, and we'd
Yeah.
put a drop of Loctite. I think only once or twice.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you very much.
Johnny, did you have a suggestion?
I was just going to suggest Loctite, and then you
Okay.
mentioned it.
Yeah,
on the hex
on the
nut,
screw.
the hex bolts that
the Allen
fit into
screw.
Yeah.
The black Allen screw, but we've rarely used that. Sometimes you have to do that on the new Bally ones. The new ones meaning up till 84. No, they use them until 89. That's right.
Thank you, Todd.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, we have another. Good. Let's see, and we're at 543. Oh,
So on that,
closer.
on the Gottlieb soundboard that was humming, or not the soundboard.
Right.
This is right. What do you attribute that hum to? Is it a potential ground? For
No, the fuse holder is shot.
the holder itself.
No, what happens is, and I wrote about this on a Terminator. Williams had a really horrible hum, and a cap shorted, and it blew the trace off, which blew the fuse. The amplifier gets fed. It's a center tap transformer, so you're not just getting a positive line in. You're getting 2 legs of AC fed
Right.
to it. One of those legs drops off. It's going to cause, because the amplifier will run off a positive and negative voltages.
Right.
So if you're losing one of them, the amp's going to hum.
So is that the same thing that happens to the Valley, classic Valley solid states? You get on a lot of the soundboards of those.
I haven't seen that happen on them.
It's
I've
always
seen it
been
mostly
caps on the
Gottliebs.
Bally boards.
Yeah, caps. You got to do all, especially like your squawk and talk boards.
Oh, there's
You
a
gotta do
zillion
all of
caps.
the caps, every single one.
There's
Never,
horrible
ever skip a
long
cap.
ones. Yeah, but the caps are they're failing. You know, it's just
Actually, what's really neat is you can get a, I think I got it off Amazon or eBay. Or so it was an Esr meter. It was like maybe $25. It was just a cheap Chinese thing, but that will tell you if your caps are bad, if you're not sure. I kind of question its reliability because it was a cheapy one, but
Right.
it's been pretty accurate. And it'll tell you if a cap is going out of range, so you really can't measure it with a voltmeter. So yeah, it's like $25, and it has a little chart right on the front that tells you what each microfarad rating compared to voltage should be. Like so like a 10 at 50 volts or something, it'll tell you what the reading should be. And if you see that it's getting out of range, just replace it. And a lot of times you can even measure them in circuit too. So
Thank you very much.
good.
What we didn't mention earlier about Frank's website, No Quarters Arcade, he's not just selling his battery boards he invented on there. He posts a lot of tech tips, Frank's tips
A
on
lot
there.
of them. Yeah, and videos.
Yes, and photographs of experiences he comes across, problems, how he troubleshooted it, what the solution was, and they're really handy. I look at them, and they don't all apply to me, but it's knowledge I'm reading and learning that I might come across in the future, and then I know I can go back and reference it. So check out the No Quarters Arcade for a lot of helpful tips as well.
it isn't really just about the problem I found. It's explaining how it works. Because I'll never participate in a group, and somebody will post a question, and then I'll just read all these answers that I just want to drive 100 miles an hour into a telephone pole when I see some of the well-meaning people and their answers. Like you don't understand what does, how it works, why things will fail. So you kind of need to understand what you're looking at, and it'll make it a lot easier to track down problems.
Frank also makes, if you have a Tommy, he makes the new blinder board, and comes with a motor that'll match up to it, and the Frankenstein board with the intermittent head movement. Frankenstein head is programmed to move, but it doesn't interact with the gameplay because obviously of the copyright with Rudy and the Pinmation copyright. So the head does not follow the ball. It turns randomly, and Frank was able to program the random turning because, as you know, you can't get that fixed. Your only option is Frank's board. So he's very put that new board together, which is really good. We sold a lot of them. We have one final video. We got some of the guys at the shop to put this thing together. It's very quick. Well, that's the end of the seminar, boys. I hope you get all this stuff delivered by the time I get back. Kurt? Oh, God, he's in bed. Adios. Good night. Now get out! Chris Frenchy designed that logo for me. So he did that for me. That was very nice of him. So we appreciate you all coming. I hope you learned something, you picked up something. This video was streamed live, and it'll be available for future viewing. I hope future viewing, right? And by the way, Jillian designed my end logo here with the bags at Pintastic. That's right. Bags originated at this very show right across the hall, didn't it? Yeah, that was it. But thanks again, guys, for coming, and hope you all learned something.
One more thing I'd like to add. Many of you have probably gotten one of Todd's trading cards from him in the past, and he probably autographed for you. Well, no. This year he has a new trading card that you probably don't have.
That's right, with Barry Osler's Joust. So I have a new trading card, and I got my Twippy on it too.
And we also have posters.
We have posters. We'll be at the autograph
in the
session
vending room.
too. Frank will be there too. He has his cards. And the cards are always free, of course. And we have in Mike Dodona's booth, please stop by, we have TNT embroidered hats, both the trucker cap, we have them a sale price, $20 for them and $15 for the knit hats.
So we have them in the booth. And we have a rubbers package. If you have mechanical games, we have a huge package of rubbers, brand new white rubbers. I think there's over 120, and we have them for $30. So pick up. We have 11 bags left, and they're over at the automated table. Thanks for watching, guys. And listen, part 1 of Pintastic is already on YouTube, and I've been filming part 2. As a matter of fact, I'm going to film you guys right now, so you'll be in part 2 too. See, this is very, very clever of me, because I decided to do it in the camera. So here we go. Let me put this on. Then you'll say, I know when that was filmed. Well, here I just finished my seminar, and everybody was on the way out, and I said, I didn't film anything here, but here they are. I just bored them to tears. I think I did. We have some thumbs up. Yeah, we do. Frank and John assisted.
People out of the hallway to give them $10 each if they came in and posed for this. So.
Oh, I owe them all $10 each. Well, we had a good seminar, and it is live.
Yeah.
So you can see the seminar on the Pintastic website, right? It's the YouTube page of Pintastic. So this whole seminar, we bored them to tears for over an hour and 45 minutes. And you can always watch my YouTube video. You're going to see all yourselves tomorrow on the YouTube video. Thanks, everybody, for staying for my quick video.